So these are the four key areas. One-to-one conversions. These are common Oracle form structures that have a direct conversion to Java. Application integration points. Points in the application where calls to third-party products or Oracle reports are present. General concerns. Some of these are similar to the one-to-one topic, but require a little more handling or detail. Some of the concerns are more just broader concerns than a specific form structure converting. We'll detail out what that means. And then non-supported Oracle functions. So these are typically functions in Oracle Forms applications that have no one-to-one or just equivalent function or command in Java. And we'll discuss some of the most common ones and how they get addressed in Java. So let's go ahead and start looking at each of these focus areas in a little more detail. So we'll start with the one-to-one conversions. And Microsoft has worked with many customers over the years on conversion projects. In fact, the product we'll be demoing later, Exodus, has been commercially available, I want to say 8 years. And our experience is that there's a very high percentage of Oracle Forms conversion that can be automated. And you'll see that in the demo. In the meantime, these are some of the most common Oracle Forms structures with a direct conversion into Java. And we'll look at some examples of each of these. We won't spend a lot of time on these examples because you'll get to see it in the demo, but let's go through them. So one of the most frequent questions we get asked on projects is around the LOVs, or list of values. That's what the LOV stands for. Here's an example of the Summit application, which is an Oracle application they use in their training scenarios. It's a list of values named Sales Rep LOV, and you'll actually see this in the Exodus demonstration later on. I'll just leave it there for a second so you can take it in for those of you that want to look at the generated XML code. Here's another example from the Summit application. This one's a trigger, the preform, and there's the Java that's generated for that trigger. We often get asked, does the Exodus conversion tool handle, how smoothly does it handle the business logic, things like triggers and stored procedures and the PL SQL that's within the forms. Host commands, these are supported in the Exodus conversion. There is some additional effort involved when converting this, particularly into the Oracle ADF environment. One thing we'll touch on later is you have some choices when converting into Java as to what kind of framework for the presentation layer. One of those is Oracle ADF. But because of some limitations and security restrictions posed in ADF today, there can be some additional work needed to support these host commands. But Exodus does do the conversion. Just know that depending on where you're going with the presentation layer, there could be some additional work needed here. Text I/O commands are supported, and it contains constructs that provide ways to write and read information to and from files. Similar to the host commands, these are generated to execute on the application server. If they were executed on the client side in the Forms application, there would be some manual modification to run it on the server side, where the application server would reside in the case of the conversion to Java. But you'll see an example here of where it's already on the server side and what gets converted. Master detail relations between data blocks is fully supported by an Exodus conversion. And really, when you're looking at automated conversion for Oracle Forms, most applications are going to have these if they're complex. some kind of master detail relationship, because these are database-driven types of applications. So it does need to handle that, and we do. In this example, the customer names, along with the phone number and sales rep names, are displayed in the table in the top right-hand corner. The information in the canvas in the bottom right-hand corner, which is the detail, reflects that of the row in focus from the top table, or the master. So if you scroll down in the customer list at the top, the customer info data will update automatically for each customer. So we'll show this in the demonstration later, but you'll see that this is handled automatically in the conversion, so you don't have to do all the coding, low-level coding behind the scenes to make this happen. So menus are automatically converted as well in the same manner as the Forms modules. And the appearance and functionality are almost identical to the Oracle Forms functionality. Menus may open subsequent menus or forms or execute a function. In this illustration, the form on the top left is the Oracle Forms menu, and then the bottom right is a converted menu. So you can see that it's very much a like-for-like conversion. Now let's look at the second key focus area, which is the application integration points. And we'll look at how calls to third-party products get converted, and then look at calls to Oracle reports, probably the most common integration point you see in Oracle Forms applications. So the user exit command can be used to call all sorts of third-party functions and or programs. And these routines may be proceed code or some other executable. As long as the executable will work on the platform in the Java environment's running on, then it can be called from the Java application. So in the first example, an executable file called XYZ function is being invoked. In the second example, the user exit commands are being used to find the text message test and then displays it when found. Now, one of the things I want to note here is just how the function names are maintained. And this will become more apparent in the demonstration, but I think this is one of the key areas of the Exodus automated conversion, and that is that the structures and hierarchy of the Forms project is maintained. So it's much easier for someone familiar with the original Forms application to find their way in the converted Java application. So, for example, your project folders and the structure of that project, when you'll see this in the demo, when you open it up in your Java IDE. In our case, we use Oracle's JDeveloper internally. You'll see the same folder structure, so you're going to be able to navigate into the pieces of code that you are familiar with, except now you'll see them in Java. And then further, when you go into those pieces, you'll see that the naming conventions are the same, except obviously in Java, they have to remove some of the characters that aren't allowed in Java that were in the Oracle Forms side, but you'll see that similar naming convention. So this next piece is on the Oracle reports. So a lot of organizations ask us about, do you convert, does your tool do automated conversion of the reports? And the short answer to that is no. This tool automates the Forms side, but there isn't an automated tool that does conversion of reports to anything else. We don't have that. Nobody else has that. Now, some folks talk to us about converting their Oracle reports to BI Publisher, and there is a utility from Oracle that kind of helps with that, but it's not an automated utility. If your reports have triggers or business logic in there, there is some fair amount of rewriting that will have to be done in the report. So pretty much, if you're looking to move away from Oracle reports to some other reporting standard within your organization, whether it be BI Publisher or something else, there is going to be some significant level of rewrite involved with those reports. And however, what some companies do is what we see in a lot of our projects is they choose to maintain the reports in Oracle reports for the initial conversion and just call them from the Java application. So in Oracle Forms, either of the built-in functions, the run product or run report object, may be used to call Oracle reports. And in this example displayed, it's using the run product function. Now, if the Oracle reports are being upgraded to 10G or 11G, then some tags may need to be added to the express config XML file. So now we'll review some of the general concerns around converting Oracle Forms functionality to Java. So this is that third key area for conversion. Object libraries. Exodus converts Oracle Forms and extracts the contents of the OLB objects that are used by the given forms. So therefore, the code that was in the OLB objects is converted to Java code for every form, resulting in a possible replication of these packages. Because the object libraries are proprietary Oracle files, we're unable to convert them standalone. So some massaging of the resulting generated code would be beneficial to streamline it for the Java environment. And there are some third-party tools that help with this part of the process. So this is something that we see. There is a process around it that we do. And Exodus provides an automated way to get the first steps of this process done. And if this is an area that's of concern for you, certainly we can talk to you about what the steps we go through in the projects we have to address it. But it's something that is easily addressable. Reference forms. Exodus fully supports the use of reference forms for both layout and business logic. The conversion process is identical to how it converts the regular forms, except you have to identify the reference form and convert that prior to the remaining forms that reference that reference form, if you will. The converted application fully supports cascading style sheets, or CSS, or templates as they are sometimes referred to. And the first template must be created manually with all of the required visual attributes, and then this template may be accessed or referenced by all of the forms in the application. On-record locking, something that should be noted there. So the Exodus framework was designed to mimic the Oracle Forms runtime behavior. So, for those of you familiar with Oracle Forms, it provided a framework, a 4GL, if you will, that allowed the developer to not have to do a lot of low-level coding. And so we created, using standard Java classes and methods, a lot of that framework in Java so that you, once again, can focus in the converted application on your business logic. And so we mimic that Oracle Forms locking mechanism that's provided by the underlying database management system. And the locking mode is kind of controlled, and the transactions are managed through the JDBC API. So if two people are trying to access the same record, the record will be locked by the first user to maintain data integrity. So just like Oracle Forms, Exodus automatically handles the process of issuing locks to protect the updates in progress. However, once the first user commits their changes, there is a slight difference in how the second user is treated. So in Oracle Forms, they cannot even enter changed data without requerying or re-entering the form. In the generated application in Java, the user can enter data to be changed, but once they decide to commit the data, they'll receive a message that the data has already been changed, and they'll have to requery or re-enter the form. So an unlock trigger fires when the user is about to change a record or presses a key. So Oracle Forms programmers can use this trigger to replace the default Oracle Forms processing for locking rows. So, for example, if the application was designed to be a single user application, the trigger can be used to bypass the locking process. This was a feature in Oracle Forms that isn't automatically supported in the conversion. However, it's something we're looking at. So in Oracle Forms, a user can query based on data entered in multiple fields on the form, and they can even include wildcards. And this is all supported in the Exodus conversion. The example shown is for here is for a data block named CMSN_calc, and the block properties are displayed here. On the next slide, we'll look at the converted Java code for this query by field. This is the generated code, or resulting generated code. And note that we're including an order by clause, and that the filter is on the pay_CPNT column, matching whatever value the user entered for this field. And I'll give you just a second to look at this. So hotkeys are fully supported in the conversion as well. And this is just a sampling of how the Shift F10 button is set in the .jls files for the default toolbar. So function keys are fully configurable and supported. This is really nice for those data entry type of forms where the user is used to just hitting hotkeys and things like that to move through a form very quickly. So what you see here in this general concerns, there's 3 bullets, and I included an illustration of our architecture just to help in as I talk through these 3 bullets. So on the modal versus modeless, forms and dialog boxes are either modal or modeless. And so what I mean by that, a modal form or dialog box must be closed or hidden before you can continue working with the rest of the application. So we support modeless forms, and many different forms may be open at the same time, and the user can change focus between any of them. The one limitation that we have today is that we do not support having the same form open multiple times. We don't support the modal, and this is somewhat of a challenge in general, just of moving a client-server application in that environment to a web-based environment. Stored database procedures. So, we talked earlier about how Exodus handles the business logic in the form, things like triggers, stored procedures, all of that, or triggers and the business logic. But we also get asked about what about the business logic that's stored in the database? And we actually give you the choice of converting those stored procedures in the database to Java as well. What we recommend to customers is that these are left, if you're going to be staying on Oracle, leave those in the database, because they can be called from the generated Java application, and you're probably not going to see any better performance than where that logic is in the database now. However, some customers want to convert that logic in the database because, and Exodus does that, it converts those stored procedures to Java classes if there's a requirement. And where we see that is sometimes they're trying to build an abstract data connection layer, or they're looking to create this layer for database independence reasons, things like that. They're looking to do that. So it can be done. A lot of folks ask about how this would fit into their SOA approach. And a lot of folks out there are talking about SOA, or service-oriented architecture. But it's interesting to actually get the definition from each individual or customer we talk to, because it always seems a little bit different. So let's define that for a second. So we're all on the same page, and where in general people are asking about in terms of supporting a conversion. So a very basic description of SOA is it's a development approach that you take to applications that separates the presentation layer from the business logic layer and the data access layer. And the goal behind doing that is you can, by doing that, you can add different clients to the presentation layer, or package up the business logic as web services for access by different applications or clients. That's some of the reasons or benefits that you would do that. And the other one is it can make the application easier to maintain and extend. So the Exodus architecture supports this approach. So the converted application does follow the model view controller, or the MVC model, and that's what you'll see. You see that in the illustration here. And the other thing to notice on this is you can perform a full conversion of the application, or you can choose just to do pieces. So, for example, just convert the PL SQL, or you convert the entire app, and then once converted, you could just convert the presentation layer into different options. So there are some things that you can do because of the way we've architected the solution and how it converts the application that definitely support an SOA approach. I won't spend a lot of time on the architecture now, but if you have questions on that, go ahead and bring it up in the Q&A session. We do offer multi-language support, or so I should say it supports multi-languages. Exodus will convert a non-English application as long as the input files for the converter are created in English. It will properly display non-English characters on the form, which are stored in the database using the proper encoding function. So I think this is showing, in general, it's mostly Spanish, I believe, in this screenshot. So obviously there are things to consider in terms of your environment for your browser, and things like that in terms of how it will behave, but it does support multi-languages. Now I want to touch on this fourth one, and then we should go into the demo, because we spent a lot of time on what converts, but everyone asks about what doesn't convert and what kind of effort is involved. And these are some common examples. The first one, the D2K WUTIL, this is provided by Oracle to do some different client-server functionalities like reading client registry entries. And we have not converted this library. So the Exodus tool won't fail on this, but it'll generate a similar line to this command, but then the compiler will give you a message when you try to compile the generated Java class. So it requires some manual coding afterwards to duplicate the functionality, but there is the ability to do that. Go-tos, this must be removed from Oracle forms before the conversion because there's just no similar command or function in the Java environment. But we do have some, for how we've seen it used, we can help you and recommend what can be done with those if you're using them. One of the areas we see it sometimes is for error handling, and so, in Java, you would use try-catch statements. That's what you would replace the go-tos with for error handling. So that's just an example of how we address that. Timer functions. Java code must be written to duplicate the functionality of the timer commands. Normally they're used for pausing execution to allow an external function or job to complete. But again, there are ways to address that, and if you have concerns on that, we can sit down with you and talk with you about our experience with it and how to address it and where to address it. The other thing I'll mention is that we have an analyzer as part of the tool that you can run the forms through. It will actually flag all these commands. It'll tell you how many there are, where they're located, and we can actually take the output from this analyzer and give you a very good idea of an estimate, if you will, of what effort will be involved after the automated conversion to address those. Now, we're kind of going kind of long, and I'd like to get into the demo, so I'm not going to spend more time on this. I'm going to go ahead and move through this slide. What the point of this is that of this slide is that Oracle JDBC drivers don't support calling arguments or return values for certain PL SQL types. And so, and Oracle currently has no plans to change this. So instead, people are encouraged to use ref cursor, Oracle collections, or structured object types. And so there is a workaround for that. And we can talk to you about that if this is a specific area of interest for you. But basically, it's around putting a PL SQL wrapper or procedure around it. So we'll go ahead and go, let's demonstrate the conversion step of the conversion project. So some points to keep in mind during the demonstration. We're going to convert the Oracle Summit application. This is an Oracle application. They use it in a lot of their training exercises. And it's not super complex, but it is a very good representation of a lot of the different components you would have even in a complex application. So it has a menu, it has libraries, it has business logic, all around these forms. And you'll see in the forms that we show, I think there's 3 of them, that some of them have multiple blocks and canvases. Now, since this application, this actually fully converts this application, so we're not going to run it through the analyzer I mentioned first and show that piece of the process, but you'll see how it actually just fully generates this application. This is a full conversion, so just note, as I mentioned earlier, you can choose just to convert pieces. For example, just convert the PL SQL. Or once you do a full conversion, you could just convert pieces after that, like the presentation layer, into a different option. Now, the other thing is we're going to show a like-for-like conversion in a browser to illustrate some of the examples from the 4 areas. But and typically, this is what most of our customers are looking for, is a like-for-like conversion. What they're trying to do is, the key for them is getting into the new platform and infrastructure as quickly as possible, minimizing disruption to the end users for these applications. They don't want to have to retrain them on something that's different, with different functionality or different navigation and different use. What they're looking to do is get it over into the new infrastructure as quickly as possible, minimizing disruption to the end users, and then they'll look at kind of a phase 2 longer term. Okay, how should we be modernizing or refactoring parts of the application now that we can take advantage of the new platform and the resources that we have over there. But there is some, so we're doing this like for like, but there is, if you are looking to do some specific things that aren't like for like as part of your initial conversion, that is something that we can look at through the use of customer-defined templates and things like that. It just depends on what your priorities are and how automated a conversion you're looking to do in the first initial conversion. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Khalid, who I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. As I mentioned, he's the director of our Oracle practice, and he has been working with Oracle Forms for many, many, many years on a lot of different types of customer projects, both for upgrades. He's seen upgrades from 3.0 all the way up to 11. He's done custom Oracle forms and reporting projects, and then he's also obviously been involved in these conversions. So a lot of experience around the Oracle Forms environment. So it's a great pleasure to introduce him and actually have him here to drive the demo today. So I'll let you take it away from here, Hamid.
Thank you very much, Matt. So what basically, as Matt explained, we would do is show you the conversion of Oracle Summit application, which basically consists of 3 forms, 2 libraries, and 1 menu. So the first step will be to show the conversion process. The second step will be obviously to deploy that application and then to run the application in Java environment. And last step to show the sources actually and compare the sources before and after and runtime before and after. So this application, which is Oracle Summit application, consists of it's a medium size application, consists of 3 forms. It's basically a representation of mostly what Oracle components are all about. Basically, tree structure is there, master detail dynamically changing, like pressing the button dynamically change the where clause and tabs and all those things. Basically, in other form, which is called from this form, contains like buttons and radio button, check boxes, all those things. So what I'm going to do is I will show this form later on when I would be deploying it on Java side. Let's go first through the first part, which is the conversion part. This is the conversion tool, which is the front end conversion tool. It doesn't have too many inputs to input. It requires basically the option like conversion process, what you want to convert. As I mentioned, you can convert Oracle PLL libraries, you can convert menus, and you can convert forms. When you are converting forms, you can again convert either the canvases, PL SQL, or program units, your choice basically, because it has a drop down under form module which you can convert like a master data relationship, PL SQL only, canvases and all that thing. You can convert database packages which are in database if you are planning to move out of Oracle database, and you can obviously convert PL SQL library which are part of Oracle form. Menus, again the same thing, you have to convert menus if they are part of the form, and you can go from there. The first step is to choose what you want to convert. The second step is to input like this package name and company name and application name. Normally this package name comes as the top line on the every Java class that we will create. Basically it will be like package.com, package space.com.sportsco.summit, and then and this is how the application is packaged. The third option is to select which option you want to go with, applet string XML or with ADF option. So in this demo we will go with applet string option and then go from there. Input directory where all the forms are present, menus, libraries are present, where the Java code will go is output directory. Database connection is basically why we need the database connection. Everyone asks most of the time why we need the database connection. The reason we need the database connection is to find out the references. For example, if you are using in your form something like a variable that depends on a table column, if it is a varchar or if it is a number, we would not know if we will not go to the database column and see if it was varchar 2 or if it was number, and according to that we either create like double, integer or string basically. So we are only reading your database for references purposes. There is no other, there is nothing to write on that database for any purpose. So the first thing what we will do is start the conversion. Since this application consists of 2 libraries, 3 forms and 1 menu, you can convert in any order you want to, but our recommendation is always convert the libraries first, then the menus. The third thing is reference forms if you have reference forms, and the forms afterwards. So I'm going to start with when you select this option you will get 2 options, database conversion or library conversion. Since we are not converting database objects, I'm going to leave this default selection. The only thing I have to do is select the libraries from the input folder. There are 2 libraries I will select. I'll select for the conversion and I will start the conversion. These are simple libraries, not too many codes in there, but still like the conversion normally doesn't take that much of time, even if there are like 500 or 1,000 lines of code in a library. Once it is done, it will produce a log file. I will talk about that log file after I will convert the forms themselves. So let me go through the menu. The menu conversion is again the only thing we have to do. Obviously menu has the presentation layer, that's why it is showing either you want to create like ADF menu presentation layer or swing presentation. Since we are doing a demo for swing, I'm going to select, there is only one menu which is called M7. I'm going to select it and then press the convert button, and it will create and it will show you if there is any problems or if you find any warning. Normally warnings comes like it has found a go-to statement, or if it has found any registry entries, APIs or something like that. it displays those warning here. So when you are compiling, you know that those warning were in the conversion tool, and you have to find a way around to that. Lastly, I'm going to do is take the forms module conversion, and I'm going to select all the 3 forms that are in this application, order and pick form. I'm going to say and then put them on the right side for conversion. I press the convert button and the conversion will start. So again, I was talking about the log file. What this log file consists of, basically in each step it will create a log file. When you are converting libraries, it will create a log file menus and the forms the same way. These log files are for due diligence or for audit trail later on basically. It creates this log file for every day. So if you are converting 5 forms today and 10 forms tomorrow, so whatever you have converted today, all the log file will be in HTML format with that date in the conversion folder basically. So down the road in 2 months time, if you want to go back and check what you did actually on that particular day, what you converted, you would have a history of what you have already converted or what errors or warnings you received when you were converting that form or library basically. So in this, since it's been done several times, it should be all clean conversion. There are several things that it converts during the form conversion. Form conversion basically, like if you are selecting a full form conversion option, it goes 2 passes. The first pass is to find all the PL SQL, and a PL SQL is present in triggers, it's present in the program unit, or it's present in basically these 2 places. So it takes those program units and then PL SQL and convert it to Java classes. Second pass it does is for presentation layer. So presentation layer are normally alerts, your list of values and your canvases. And then it goes to that path and then create XML files for plugin versions and JSF files for ADF versions. So once the conversion is done, the second step is to take the converted code, which is you will see that it's all created like this folder, which is our output folder which we selected. Now take the conversion code outside from here and then start compiling. Once you do the compile, then you can create a WAR file. There is an option to create a template WAR file. What this template WAR file will do is basically create for you the structure for Exodus that you can take it and deploy on any application server. You can deploy on Tomcat, you can deploy on Oracle application server, WebSphere or any. But this is actually a template WAR file that it will create from what has been generated from the conversion tool. And then from there you can go forward. Once the WAR file is there, you can deploy it. And then once it is deployed, you will be provided the way how to run that application. And then once the application will run, this is how it will run and then produce. On the left side you can see basically your Oracle form, and on the right side you will be seeing Java converted application for the same summit.
Can you,
Obviously there is a little bit difference between the look and feel, but mostly it should be same, like there are a plus minus, there are folder type of plus minus and buttons rather than like nothing there. And what it does basically, the functionality wise, there is a drop down list values. You can do that, expand and then collapse the tree structure. And what you can do is if you select this one, what it does, this is the master of this detail and this is the detail of this master. So it is master detail structure basically. And if you do the same thing in here, you will see that it will do the exactly the same thing. There is a list of value in here that will produce something like that. There is a list of value right here. The list of value can be done the same way basically. So until the list of value is not cancelled, you cannot do anything on the form Mike was talking in his presentation. So if you click this button, it will open an order form. And the same, if you click here, it will open order form. Like when you are clicking, actually you are double clicking, so it means the trigger when double click or when mouse double click trigger fires here. And in our Exodus, as far as I know, we cover all the triggers except for mouse in, mouse out, mouse enter, and few of the mouse triggers that is a heavy duty triggers that Oracle also has taken out from their Oracle web environment. The reason basically is that it will create more network traffic just to move a mouse on the field and mouse out on the field basically. But here you can see the radio buttons, check boxes. There is a MDI window here, so you can see an MDI window right here. You can see an MDI window right here. So most of the canvas types are covered. Content canvas is covered. Like you can see there is a content canvas. So until you exit out, you won't be doing anything on the back screen. Then there is a third form, and you can see the images here. The same as you can use the images, tabs and all those things, table structure, scroll bar and all those things, you can do that here. So basically that's the demo for the process of how the conversion is taken. The conversion process is simple. Most time is spent on cleaning the stuff like go-to statements or non-supported functionality that Exodus doesn't cover because of one or the other reason. And mostly it's because like if you're using a host command as Matt was saying in his presentation, the host command normally works on the server. So to make it run on the client, you have to go and manually change and add an argument in those host commands actually. And again, that's how it works. And then the second step is to compile and deploy. The third step is to run. So the last thing I would like to show here is some of the structure, how the form structure is done. So if you see here, this is the customer form, and I'm going to take this as an example here. And if you see in the output structure, I'm going to take the sports score, company, and customer form. There are folders at each level. Like this is the customer form itself. Customer form has a folder called customer. A customer form has a folder called customer, and it has a file called customers.java. Every level you will find a subfolder that will contains the name same Java file, which represents a different level of triggers. So in this customer.java, which is form level file, it basically contains, I will show it to you here. It basically contains the alerts, which is the form level alerts. It's not a block level or item level, so it goes in this file. It contains all the parameters. There are no parameters in this form, but if there are any parameters, it will go in this place. And then it starts with the triggers, form level triggers. So the pre-form trigger, for example, you have a pre-form trigger right here. And the only thing in pre-form trigger is setting a default value for customer ID. And then one thing you would notice that the name of the triggers we are exactly using the same as what it was used in the form, except it is Javaized by taking the underscore or dashes out. So this is how we go. When window close, the same is for built-in values. Like there is a default value, there is a built-in called default value in Exodus that does exactly the same thing what default value built-in does in Oracle form. So it's a one-to-one conversion. And also after triggers, it creates you the program units. All the program units also goes in this file. So the structure basically is like your form contains a file, and form has subfolders which represent all the blocks. Like there is a control, navigator, these are all the blocks. And each level of the block, you will see a file with Java, and basically that contains the block level triggers, nothing else than block level triggers. For example, in this case, it is containing all popular details, and this is how the code runs basically. And the same is for in this block. There are 4 or 5 items, and each item level you will find a Java class that represents the item level triggers. So the structure is kept similar to what Oracle form structure is. I am a form developer basically. I started moving to Java. So for me to follow this structure and following the naming convention, it is much easier for me to debug a Java code in Exodus to find out where the things are, what the problem might be, and things like that. The one thing we have done here while we are creating all the PL/SQL code from triggers or program units is added this code here. Which means when there is a problem and you want to debug a code, what you can do, there is a trace on in the configuration file, you can put it as true, And what it will do on the server side, it will display these messages, which will show that the flow has entered into venue form instance trigger and exit out of the venue form instance. So the problem was not in here. And then when you won't see exiting stated, that means the problem is in that particular program unit or trigger, and then it will be easier to debug where the problem occurs. So any questions on these and then on the coding or conversion process or anything else, I would be happy to answer.
Great. So what we'll do now is open it up for the Q&A session. So again, the way that you do that is the question mark button on your toolbar. Use that to post a question, and we'll go silent here for about 30 seconds, and then we'll come back on and start going through the questions. Thanks. All right, we're going to go ahead and start going through the questions. The first one is, if we don't want to convert to ADF, does that mean we have to use the Exodus plugin? What is the purpose of this plugin? So I'll start with the answer, but then Halid, if you can pipe in for this. So we do offer the two primary choices, or there's really three, but the two for a browser are, there's the ADF Oracle framework, which we can do if you're going to be staying in the Oracle infrastructure and want to go to, and you're going to go with their ADF. We support the ADF 11G. The other one is we have this plugin version for the browser, which is the Swing-based for the presentation layer. And basically, what we've done is using Swing, we've been able to recreate all the properties, and that's how you're able to get that like-for-like conversion in terms of all the objects with all the properties and characteristics that the users expect from the Oracle Forms applications within a browser. Anything you want to add to that, Halid?
I think that's okay, and the question is like, do they have to do plugin if they are not converting ADF? Obviously there is a choice, either you do ADF or you do plugin, so one or the other basically. If you are not doing ADF, you have to choose the plugin option. There is always a benefit and advantages and disadvantages basically, and that can be discussed in detail if needed.
Right. I suppose the other thing is, if you have your own presentation layer that you want to go to, I mean, certainly, the way Exodus works is it automates the conversion into one of those two presentation layers, and then all the business logic. So that's what you're going to have to do with the Exodus automation, but then you have that Java code to do what you like with it. So if you wanted to take the business logic and do some refactoring for a different type of presentation layer, you can do that. Obviously, you have to have the Java skill sets to do that, and start maintaining and extending that. But I mean, you get the Java code, so you can do that. Those are the two options though that we offer for the automated conversion. The next question is, what versions of Java are Oracle Forms are supported? So I'm going to take that as a two-part question. So the version of Java that we support for the converted applications is JDK 1.5 and 1.6 for any conversion projects that would start today. Is that correct, Halid?
We can do 1.4 also.
We can. I knew we had done 1.4. I didn't know if someone was starting a project today, whether that was still an option or not. So JDK 1.4, 1.5, or 1.6. And then in terms of the Oracle Forms, supported for the conversion. We've done, typically what we see is as far back as 6i, it'll convert Oracle Forms 6i Forms applications or greater into Java. We have done some projects where the customer has had Oracle Forms as far back as 3.0, and we can do those projects. It involves an extra step in that we have to upgrade the 3.0 forms, do an upgrade, if you will, to 6i, so that we can then run it through the automated conversion tool. Okay, next question. Is there a runtime license required for the Exodus plugin? The answer to that is no. So first of all, we do have two licensing models for this Exodus. You can purchase the Exodus tool to do the conversion yourself, and we'll sell you a 1-week training course. That's all that's needed to be proficient in using the tool. And we can sell you annual maintenance on the tool itself. The other pricing model is that some folks will ask us to do the conversion as a service, as a consulting service. So those are your two models. In either model, whether you buy the tool or you buy it as a service, you get all the source code, the Java source code for the generated application to maintain and extend and do whatever you want with it. There is no runtime license dependency on us. The only thing that we do have in there is we have provided, as I mentioned, that Oracle Forms runtime behavior in Java classes and methods. So we do give you the source code to that as well, to maintain and extend and change and modify. The only restriction we put on it is you can't resell it for a profit. That is our IP, so we're the only ones that will do it unless you make some kind of special arrangement with us on that. But there's no restriction on what you do with that source code. We give it to you. All right, any other questions? I'll give you a sec to see if there's any more being posted, and then after that we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Actually, here's one more question. How is the performance? What is the performance like of the converted application? So what we actually see is that the performance is very similar to how it was on the Oracle Forms side. In fact, in some cases, some of the forms will be a little bit faster because it's taking advantage of the application server architecture. There are some benefits to that. In other Forms modules, the performance can be a little bit slower. We see, in some cases, a 5 to 10% reduction in performance, but that's from just the nature of going from client-server to the web, typically. Where we typically see that in the particular models is very heavy data entry screens where there's multiple validations on each and every field, and there's a ton of fields. But all that being said, part of the conversion project, whether you're using the tool and doing it yourself or we do it, there is performance tuning that gets done as a normal part of this after it gets converted in terms of how do you optimize it for your environment. And because you have access to all the Java code, there are some specific things that you can do to tune the performance to ensure that you get acceptable response times. And certainly that has always been addressable in all of the projects. All right, well that's all the questions I see. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Again, though, if you have one, go ahead and post it. And we're going to go ahead and convert back over to the slides here just to finish this out. So in summary, we talked about the key conversion areas and did a demonstration. The takeaways I would give you for this is that this is a full conversion of the Oracle Forms application. So it's all the business logic, all the data access, the presentation layer. What our customers tell us time and time again is that, and some of them specifically do very specific studies on this, it's a 90% reduction in their project time versus a rewrite. If they were to rewrite the Forms application from scratch in something like Java. The other key takeaway is it maintains the structure and hierarchy of the Oracle Forms project on the Java side. As you saw when Halid brought it up in JDeveloper, you saw the folder and structures, you saw the naming conventions in the code itself. This creates a shorter learning curve for your Oracle Forms developers who are trying to transition over. But even if you're just using Java developers who didn't work with it originally, it's going to make it much easier for them to maintain and extend the converted application once it's over in Java. The third thing is that there is some code that may need to be manually modified to duplicate the Oracle Forms functionality. So, and all of that depends on your project. And again, there's an analyzer. We can help highlight those areas and give you a very good idea before you start your project, or even before you purchase the tool. We can give you we can run those through the analyzer and give you an idea. Okay, last question. There is one more question here before we wrap it up. It says, it looked like Khalid was using a demo version. Is this available for us to try? Well, I'm not sure how it looked like a demo version versus an actual version. I mean, we were using the full version of Exodus and converting that application. If you are interested in trying it, we can have a sales representative follow up with you. There are some different options that we have. Obviously, we have some reservations about providing a tool from a demo or evaluation purpose that does, conversion into Java source code that you have now. So, but there are things that we do if you're trying to make a decision on whether or not to purchase it. To give you the information you need in order to move forward. All right, well, Halid and I want to thank you for participating today. We hope it was of value to you. Keep in mind, we're at different Oracle events because of our partnership with Oracle. The next one coming up is actually in the UK. A lot of the folks today on the webinar were from North America, but I know we had a few on from Europe. So our next event actually is in Europe. It's the UK OUG in England. And so if you're going to be in Europe, a great opportunity to come by and see us there, talk to us about what you're trying to do, and we can talk to you about how our solution may be able to help you for your projects. We're also always we were just at Oracle Open World, we're always there, and we're also at ODTUG every year as well. So, and we do these webinars monthly as well, so keep us in mind for next month's webinar. I'm not even sure what the topic is yet, but you'll receive an invite for it. And when you exit, you'll get a little one-page questionnaire. Take a moment to fill that out. Let us know how we did, and let us know if there's specific topics you'd like to see in upcoming webinars. We absolutely use that feedback to drive these. Like this one, for example, came out of feedback from one of our prior webinars. All of our webinars are recorded and made available on our website. This one will be available sometime early next week at cyphersoftinc.com. I think if you go under resources, you'll see on-demand webinars as one of the links, and that's where you can look at all the different ones that are available. Thank you, and have a great day.